All right, well, welcome to the Crypto and NFT panel. I'm joined by Luke Bonner, CEO and founder of Power Forward, Pat Cassidy, former New Balance and CMO of Autograph, and Kirby Porter, founder of New Game Labs, which is, as you explained to me, the holding company for players. So a couple of what I'm calling game changers up here. They're all involved in really interesting spaces and are just kind of leading the charge with a passion and combining that with technology and sports and a lot of what we heard the last couple of days. But these guys are making it their own and finding verticals and niches that have a lot of opportunity for creators and to start really cool new businesses in. So enjoyed getting to know all of you. And let me turn it over to you guys. So let's start with you, Kirby. You want to introduce yourself and let's get a little background of how you got to where we are today.
Perfect. Hey, everyone. So excited to be here. Have absolutely loved the past 2 days. So I'm Kirby Porter, founder of New Game Labs and Players. And I'll start my story across the river. I played basketball at Harvard and really found my footing to want to be in the sports industry on both sides of the game. Began my career at PepsiCo. I was on our Mountain Dew brand marketing team, our NBA partnerships team. And after 2 years there, made the jump into the world of startups and venture capital. I joined an early stage VC firm named Will Ventures and really just dove into the experience of growing the brand from 0 to 1, working with our portfolio companies in health and wellness, media and entertainment, and also being on our investment team towards the end of my time there. And during that year and a half, really saw my passion to want to be on the other side of the table as well as an entrepreneur. During those 3 to 4 years, had really explored my passions as a creator, was always creating content on the side, had this burning passion for athlete empowerment and athletes in business, started a podcast called Court to Corporate, and really just refined that idea. And really learning about Web3 through the lens of a creator myself, and seeing how this technology was really just going to open new doors for people that have a story, that have a passion to monetize and scale their brands in different ways. Really felt moved to bring the passion, the expertise, and the opportunity to build at the ground level in Web3. And so that's where I am today with New Game Labs.
I mean, what a story. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So Pat, back at familiar territory. Tell us about your career arc, please.
Is this on?
Testing. You're good.
Okay. Let me do mine now. Pat Cassidy. I know probably 90% of the people here at the moment, which is great to see everybody. I started my career, I actually started a company with Jed Berger, who was just on stage here. We started a publishing media and what eventually became like a marketing and events agency in New York. I did that for several years, then made the move to New Balance, where I started my journey here, first building and leading a global digital department, and then that turned into a second leg of a wonderful journey here of leading all of our global consumer brand marketing, which was running lifestyle, basketball, global football, a bunch of other things. Really, really amazing time, and felt like I was really part of how this wonderful brand changed dramatically over a relatively short amount of time, and I loved every second of it. Heading into this past summer, though, I was approached with an opportunity to join this NFT Web3 space that has now exploded and is everywhere, and it was. It was really intriguing for me because it was a chance to go, back somewhat to some of the entrepreneurial roots that I had, where I could go and build something again in a brand new space that has no rules, no blueprint, no traditional way of operating, and you can go and make what it is. I'd been toying with the research around NFTs and stuff like that for how it could potentially play into the work here at New Balance, and this company Autograph came to me. It's a NFT Web3 platform that was co-founded by Tom Brady and a bunch of other interesting people, and I felt like it was an opportunity I couldn't pass up, even if it meant stepping away from all the wonderful people here in the audience. That was the hardest part. The second hardest part was telling all of my family in Philadelphia that I was going to work with Tom Brady, which still has not settled very well, and it's something I have to manage on a daily basis. People ask me if I trust him.
He might sign with the Eagles, though.
Possibly. That would change a lot of things. So about 8 months into this autograph journey, and it has been awesome, and I can't wait to talk about it today.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you. And Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke Bonner. I'm a former basketball player, very famous in Lithuania. I did not get into Harvard, so I played at UMass. We had a lot more fun, I think, over there. I transitioned out of basketball. I've always been very involved in big labor, ironically. I attempted to unionize Division I college athletes back in 2014 at Northwestern, and worked in advertising and started doing TV on NBC Sports Boston. Tried to make a name for myself by being the one guy who could talk about the Celtics without being an a-hole. That didn't work. So then I started a sports marketing agency and eventually founded Power Forward as an athlete to consumer marketplace, building out custom shops for different pro athletes, really focused on women's basketball out of the gate. Founded the company with Sue Bird, Brianna Stewart, Mo Bamba, and Taco Fall. And we recently pivoted into the wonderful world of Web3, tapping back into the core tenets of collective power. And I consider myself to be New Balance basketball royalty, to be honest. It's great to be here in the building that my older brother, Matt Bonner, built. That's a niche joke for maybe 2 people in here.
I got it.
All right, Luke, I'm gonna keep with you. Your energy's just jumping out of you right now. So we're gonna keep the mic with you, and we're gonna go a little bit more broad, buddy. So crypto, NFTs, you guys have all mentioned it. You've all mentioned Web 3.0. The general public is talking about it. I feel, TV streaming stations talking about it, but a lot of people don't know like WTF it really is. And everyone I think has a different definition. There is a right one, but also there's different definitions because there's different use cases for them. Each business can use them a bit differently, whether it be for utility or for investment, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm teeing you up a little bit here, but why don't you just set the record straight? So how does Power Forward think about crypto and NFTs? Pick one, tell us about both, but would love to understand how you see them and how you want to use them.
So the way that we are, leveraging an NFT, honestly, is I can tell you what we're doing without saying the letters NFT, and you'll understand it. I think we're a community of athletes, sports executives, and fans who have invested in and will continue to invest in women's basketball because we know women's basketball is going to the moon. I didn't swear, Kirby. I almost did there. So really, for us, we wanted to go into the space by kind of activating the core community we had built over the past couple of years, which is really strong, especially in the WNBA. And so before going into this route, we invested heavily in utility, AKA benefits, right? And for us, we launched a membership NFT, which is really just a digital membership that's like a liquid asset too. So if you hate what we're doing, you can sell it. Right. And so the first thing we did when we started going this direction is we met with the WNBA and we bought 2 courtside season tickets in every single market. And we bought over 1,000 WNBA League Pass subscriptions. If anyone wants to win a League Pass, feel free to DM me on Twitter. First one to do it, I can give you a code. And so we wanted to go into this with utility that also reinforces kind of the mission of the whole community. So the way we view it is athletes, fans, executives are kind of all together working with a core purpose for the broader community, but we're also providing immediate value to everyone in real life and in a variety of other ways.
Awesome. I couldn't agree more with all that, everything, period. All right, Pat, how are you guys doing this?
So it's so interesting that this industry that we're in, how fast it changes.
Yep.
When I was making the decision to make this jump and trying to understand exactly what this company was going to be, it made sense for what I had already known, and that was basically NFTs as digital collectibles. I grew up collecting baseball cards and all that sort of stuff, so that makes sense to me. This is the next stage, and this is a company that had, for the first almost year, launching collections of these digital items from athletes like Tom Brady, Tiger Woods, Tony Hawk, Simone Biles, Naomi Osaka, et cetera, a bunch of really, really amazing, compelling, all-time greats in their sports. And all these digital collectibles, they weren't going to be cards or anything like that. They were digital items that basically meant something to these athletes. That makes sense. That's the next step of this, and a bunch of them are signed. And with Autograph, the athletes actually sit down with a proprietary technology and sign each one of the NFTs before they go out into the world. And that made a lot of sense to me. I was like, that's going to be the thing for, I understand how that's going to be the thing for the next, 2 years, 3 years maybe. And it was about 2 or 3 weeks in, I was like, oh wow, that's gonna remain a thing, because people will always collect stuff and assign value to items like that. But what it really has started to evolve into very quickly is closer to what Luke was just talking about, where it's buying NFTs, and you may want to collect them. They may be signed. They have certain value to them because of their characteristics and if they're autographed and all that sort of stuff by these amazing athletes. But what does that then lead to? So what that has turned into is from straight up collecting to now collecting plus access and experience to things. So, okay, I have this Tom Brady NFT. What does it mean? It has a value to it. It's signed by Tom Brady. I think it's super cool. I like showing it in my NFT wallet and all that sort of stuff. But also it allows me to do the following things. I get invited to training camp. I can play catch with Tom Brady. He's going to airdrop me tickets to the Super Bowl. These are all things if you go along the journey, once you invest in these projects, your NFT grows in value and grants you access and exclusive experiences that you wouldn't normally have. And that's really how it's changing and how we're thinking about it now. It's not just the collecting part. That's important, but it's what is the journey you're going on if you're buying one of these things. And it's not just for sports. We've launched partnerships with AEG to do ticketing experiences at music festivals. Think about that. You're going to go to there's a festival you're going to go see a band play. What is your experience with the NFT before, during, after, and then far after that, going to see that show? What is the content you're going to get? What is the access? What are the perks? What is it? Is it signed? Does it count as memorabilia? The opportunities are endless, and also it acts as your ticket to get in and out of each one of those events. So really creating these communities around access and experience is what it's very quickly changed into.
So quick fast follow. So when Luke and I were chatting at Fenway the other night, and my company's opinion on NFTs is exactly the same. It's utility based, status based, and you kind of want to rock it. You want to brag with it. You want to show all your support, but also you want to get something out of it. And then the way you'd started, Pat, it was when you're saying NFTs, they're memorabilia. I was like, yeah, 2 different companies, 2 different use cases. Both make 100% sense. But then your conversation quickly evolved to not only is it memorabilia, there's utilization to it and value. So when we were talking backstage, you're saying things have changed so much in the 8 months since you've been there. Is that actually one of those changes where you think you're signing up for a memorabilia type NFT, but no, there's so much we can do with this because of the space that we're in. So is that kind of a fast change in your first couple of months there?
Absolutely, and cool. that's the Web3.
Yep.
The buzzword part of it is now this is a whole with the way we think about it is this technology, Web3 technology and approach, can really redefine what it means to be a fan. Hopefully, I'm going to try very hard to make this a reality, but you get to a certain point where anything that you like to do could have some NFT Web3 experience that enhances that thing that you love to do. Like to go see bands play, like to follow an athlete, you like to go to the movies, read magazines, have a favorite author, whatever. You can now, in the Web3 world with this technology, enhance that entire experience and relationship that you have with that athlete, artist, musician, brand, whatever it is, in a completely different way that you may never have even thought could possibly be the case. If you have a favorite author, and that author is writing a book, he or she could give you, as you're investing in that author, he or she could give you sneak previews to pages from the book and manuscripts and outlines and all that sort of stuff that grant you feel like you're investing in these things that you love to get you closer. I saw there was a great quote from somebody that said that NFTs and Web3 make fans feel like they're VCs themselves. They're investors in these things, and they feel like they have skin in the game because they're part of this technology that's benefiting the artist or the athlete or the brand, and they're in it with them versus what it kind of has been until this point, which is very this is where the relationship ends very, very clearly.
Yep.
Buy the thing, see you later, and then, so this is the way that blurs that for communities of people who have certain passions for anything that they're into.
Absolutely, yeah. Such a cool new thing that we're a part of, and all helping to grow here together. So Kirby, two kind of different answers that then turned into very similar answers. Would love to know how Players is doing this, but you're a little bit different because you're creating a community for creators and kind of athletes to build their brand and whatnot. So how does that play into your story and what you've envisioned and brought to life?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with saying what really drew me into the space was that it was a creator-driven movement. If you rewind 12 months ago, the buzz was creator economy, creator economy, creator economy. You couldn't hear enough of it. And then that slowly blended into, the crypto creator economy and the ownership economy, and now Web3. And so for me, what really made it make sense for me was that I was a creator. I, had built a podcast. I had, grown out a newsletter. I had built content series, all out of passion, just for the love of the game, I'll say. But now really understanding the potential of creators, where we're seeing this shift of power from institutions to individuals. People now have the tech stack to, be at the level of global brands, right? If you look in the niche spaces of tech Twitter, right? Like you see people like Anthony Pompliano, who is, a crypto creator. He has the same level of trust and brand awareness as a lot of big institutional publications. Mm-hmm. And so I think you see a lot of those themes in other industries, and really going into this space, embracing that I was a creator, and embracing that there is room for us in this space. And so when I think about entering Web3 now and being a content creator, a lot of it has helped me just assess each decision I make with a different lens, because I feel like before, what creators and people that make content are encouraged to do is scale, grow your audience at all cost, get a really big audience size, and then monetize through sponsorships and go on that hamster wheel again and again and again. And I think what we're seeing now, I think, like the music industry is actually such a great example of this, that has truly been innovative in empowering independent artists through NFTs. They always say like 100 collectors is more powerful and more beneficial financially than 100,000 listeners. And so I think that really rewires the moves that I'm making now, right? It's like, is the goal to scale a podcast to, 100,000 downloads for what? Because I've tried to do that before with Court to Corporate, and it led to creator burnout. So, now it helps me move, a little smarter and think through how can I integrate NFTs into what I'm doing with my brand. And I'll say, like, something that, like, Luke and I have talked about, right, is that there's different ways for athletes to enter the space and build their brand. I think a lot of athletes jump to thinking, I need to make an NFT collection immediately if I'm going to be in Web3, when actually you can really build your brand. Luke is like, no, don't do it. When actually, I think, and I think Luke would agree, the first way to build your brand is through participating, through being in all these existing communities, finding brands that align with what you're doing and connecting with people through that way. And so that by time you have built up, the rapport, the trust, the expertise, the right tools, you have all those people from those communities to support your launch. Yep. And so I think that's how I'm thinking about it now, right? Like I'm spending time in communities, really contributing to a lot of different, basketball-driven communities like Power Forward or Krause House or Ballers, or athlete-driven communities, and really sharing my journey and learnings as a creator and refining what I want to do from an NFT perspective as I'm growing out my brand.
Thank you for that. So my head's spinning right now. I have a couple of threads that I'm going to try to put together and see if you guys agree with me and everyone follows, right? So a lot of this week has been about authenticity, specifically with athletes, and it's been brought up into music and entertainment. I talked about authenticity with gamers. These are cultures that, if you don't talk to them right, you could really like F up your business, right? So do it right. And then the connections. So rather than getting 1 million followers or 1 million listeners, it's like, there's almost like a 90 or 95-5 rule, right? So I'm kind of hearing focus on, be authentic with your core, your core audience, your core fan, empower them, give them these NFTs, give them this utility, and then they almost become brand ambassadors and advocates for you, and then they carry that message forward and kind of help you do your job in a sense, because you've made such a connection with technology, with Web 3.0, with these super fans who really can help your business. Is that a fair statement, you think?
Yeah, and I think the authenticity factor is like even more amplified if you're in this space. Honestly, like in some of like the NFT communities, if you have like just like a high-end influencer or something that is like shilling a project, it's like it can be viewed as a negative. Like when we were going through this, our initial rollout, one of the red flags for like degenerate NFT collectors is like if you run ads, like social ads, right? So we were trying to think of like, well, we need to reach more people. How can we do that without spending anything on ads? We literally bought like into some projects that we thought were like aligned with us from a community standpoint. And that's kind of an interesting play because like you just spend some time getting to know the people in that community and they inherently want to support like one of them, right? And the reality is like we can resell that NFT at a future date if we need to from a business standpoint and recoup some costs. So just from like a marketing standpoint, that's been kind of like an interesting lever. But also I think in sports, there's still a lot of like first timers where NFT can sound exclusionary or you jump to the scammy stuff, right? But there's also a ton of people that are curious. And so what we've kind of like repositioned on is like refocusing solely on like hardcore WNBA fan, because our like ultimate mission with our community is to like drive WNBA expansion, which is like maybe a crazy thing to say, but I really think like we can have an impact on that. And so like being able to figure out like who is that core person that is going to buy into what you're doing is really important. And the authenticity factor is like everything in this space.
All right, so this is why I love doing panels. So you brought up a couple of other topics, so we're just going to go off script here. Right? So we talk about like the scammy factor and the unauthentic factor, and kind of validated the 95.5 thing and focus on the super users. So I guess everything that I teed up and tried to put together from all the insight I got from you guys, everything that Luke just said. So Kirby, any reaction, any build on that? Agree, disagree? Can we get a fight started here? Or are we going to amplify what the other person's saying?
I guess to build on what Luke said, I do think authenticity is something to really just underscore the importance of like education first for any athlete or brand that's looking to enter the space. I think unfortunately NFTs have been like viewed as like another like, revenue stream or just like product to sell and something you just put out there and like attach your name to it and go buy it, when that really doesn't work at all. And so I think if we can, encourage more education first, and really, show athletes, which this is the area that I'm particularly passionate about, so I'll focus here. Like, I think, before athletes enter the space or, sign a deal with an NFT company, I'm very passionate about helping them understand the full picture of like, why does this technology matter? How does it create a more equitable situation where you're actually able to own more of your IP than you have before? What can it do to help you grow your business? What can it do to help you grow your brand? And helping them see the full picture of like what this technology actually means, so they are able to move more diligently, so that they're able to make their own decisions and not just do what's thrown at them or what's given to them because they're an athlete and they're marketable. And so I think there's a long ways to go until we get more athletes to a point where they are truly empowered with the information to make the right decisions.
Yeah, great mission.
Thank you.
It's interesting listening to that. You guys talk about this. Like, I think that I was, in many ways, was uniquely trained for this from my time at New Balance. Like, there are a lot of the same authenticity and engagement things that came up a lot with New Balance, specifically when we started talking about signing new athletes, launching new categories, specifically searching out athletes who are not interested in sponsorships but are interested in partnerships, and being like very, very in the mix with the teams and what they're making, what they're producing, and what it's going to look like out in the world, and clearly having fingerprints on all that stuff. That is magnified 100-fold when you start talking about NFTs and Web3. And you know, there's a mix of education that needs to happen, as well as very clear signals that an athlete or a partner is extremely involved in this. Because I don't know if people in here have ever been on the internet. It can be an uninformed kind of nasty place, right? So like, you can see anytime anybody announces any sort of NFT project, the trolls come out immediately and they're programmed with like the same 5 responses. Like no NFTs are gross, NFTs are destroying the environment, how could you do this, these are dumb, this is a scam, this is a pyramid scheme, this is like, I'm not buying it, I can go take a screen grab and sell the JPEG. And none of that is really true in any way, right? I mean, there's bad people scamming people in everything, not just NFTs. So that like education as to why an athlete or a way different story moving forward, but it means everything in the space.
All right, well, you got Luke and Kirby fired.
Like, it is still very early,
Yeah.
Especially in sports, and I think that NFTs in particular are going to be tethered to the sports experience. Like I think that we're kind of at that point, right? And so being so early, if anyone is considering getting into the space as a brand or an athlete, one of the beautiful sides of it is you can participate anonymously to start, right? Like that's one of the beauties of crypto. So, I mean, I know a ton of athletes that are just like messing around, you know, on their own first before you come out with, you know, publicly associating with something. So that's kind of one of the advantages. We have a bunch of athlete holders in our project, but like they believe in what we're doing, but don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about NFTs in a educated way yet. So it's like secret, right? Like, and that's okay. I think about, not to bring him up again, but like my brother being a sandwich blogger when he was in the NBA, right? Like that's the sort of thing where like it's kind of nice for the athlete because you don't necessarily have to be the full-on creator yourself, and you can associate with like projects that you authentically connect with, and you can be secretive at first, and if you get to a point where you're comfortable and come out, like your participation alone is likely going to impact the value of the entire project.
And the one thing I would add to that is actually like the profile of athlete that I think can really benefit from NFTs the most. And it's hard to draw a parallel, but I'll go back to like the music industry example. So I think what you're seeing in the music industry, there are a lot of music NFT platforms like Sound and Join Royal and so on and so forth. And with a lot of them, you see them targeting up and coming independent athletes, right? Artists that are, you know, still trying to get their big break. Maybe they haven't reached, you know, huge levels of stardom yet. But I think why they are finding success is because they are building their brands in a different way. They are used to having to like deeply engage with maybe there are 2,000 fans in existence. And that's the model that works with NFTs, right? They're not landing big brand deals. They are really trying to do everything they can to make every single fan count. And that's why you're seeing breakouts, with these artists that are finding a lot of success and monetary success with NFTs because they have that hunger in them to want to build this way. And so when I draw that parallel back to the sports industry, I really think it caters to, that up and coming athlete, that maybe isn't all set already, but they have passions as a creator. And I think that's where NFTs can really help, shake the table in the industry a little bit.
Yeah, let me try to put all that together as well. So where my head is going is kind of the days of the transactional economy or the transactional sponsorships are gone with Web 3.0, with
not gone.
Yeah, well, there's still I'll say there's still big money and opportunity there, but with to really be able to connect, to be a creator, to be a part of the fandom, to not do what Hubert did. That's what I meant by transactional. You need to be in it, or you don't come across as authentic, and you can get a little bit of a backlash.
One of the differences I would say, and from like a Web3 perspective, especially as pertains to like an up and comer, is if you're like with NIL and stuff, like if you're like a star college player right now, I think you're seeing a lot of the players focus their deals more long term on like non-endemic categories. You might not commit to something that your value is going to go up when you get drafted, kind of thing, right? And so I think one of the beauties of Web3, it's like a very collaborative thing. So like it's almost like a benefit. The more projects you're involved in, it's like it's a good signal for other people. So I think as an up and comer, I don't know exclusivity wise, but like I do think it's a space where like you're not necessarily shooting yourself in the foot for like a potential like bigger deal down the road if you're like navigating the space earlier on.
All right, awesome. All right, so I'm going to make these are very open-ended, so I'm going to ask you some very pointed questions right now. All right. You're entrepreneurs, you're young, you're successful, you're in uncharted territory, but you get up every day and you're fighting a big fight. What are you most proud of so far? And I'll start with you, Kirby, because I'm looking directly at you. What are you most proud of so far that just energizes you, that you just want to keep going every day because I've done this, there's a lot more to do, but like, what's been the big win for players so far?
So it's been 4 months.
Yeah. But you get up every day for something.
Exactly. I would say my proudest accomplishment so far is taking the leap, and really just making the jump. I think with a lot of things, it's you can do it or you can really do it. And there was definitely a world in which I could have done it, like blogged about it from time to time, or I can really just listen to how passionate I am about it and see the opportunity to build at the ground level and effing go for it. So I went for it, and I'm really proud of that.
That is a true entrepreneurial answer. I love it. Pat, what do you got, bud?
The thing I'm most proud of so far, I think it's probably on Wednesday we launched the beginning of what is our first actual like really cohesive strategic brand campaign that we put out into the world. And what prompted it was it was hard to do. We did shoots with 5 different athletes in 5 different cities, across the U.S. with a photo shoot with Rafa Nadal in Spain, who's not related to this program, but it was the only time we could get him. So that was something that was sandwiched in between. That's going to come later. But we pulled off all these shoots with all these athletes, and then turned it around in time to get it out into the world for when we needed to in order to build the runway to what this. It's a campaign based around young athletes, including Coco Gauff, who's a New Balance athlete, which is pretty awesome. So we pulling that off was great, and like all that is awesome, and happy with how it turned out. But really, the thing I'm proud of around that is sort of the realization and the general kind of evolution and pivot that we made to go make that. So it's very easy to get. If you jump into this NFT world, it's very easy to get like into these like worlds of like, NFT experts, which I don't think there actually are any NFT experts because of how fast everything changes. But there's you can go down the rabbit hole very quickly, and we realize like, at least what I firmly believe our job at Autograph is to not like drive normal people into that rabbit hole where suddenly they're like talking about. Everybody in the world is talking about NFT projects all day long. The role is actually to build the bridge to the mainstream, to make it easy, understandable, relatable, and take that, instead of forcing people into that NFT world, taking the NFT world in a relatable way, a Web3 way, to the mainstream audiences. And I really think that's really what the driving force behind this brand campaign is to, here are young dynamic athletes. Here's what they're doing. You can come and join them and essentially invest in them because of the way Kirby was talking, like the way the NFT programs work is if athletes do it right, they stand to do very well financially, and they're taking control of their own destiny in that sense. But you can buy in and support these athletes early and then go on this journey with them, and here's what you get. Here's what it means to be a new fan of these young athletes as you watch them grow. So it's the first step in really taking this technology that a lot of people don't understand and showing how it is hopefully becomes more easily relatable and understandable and attainable to the mainstream world, because there are billions of fans in the world, and there are a couple 100,000 really like super NFT people in the world, and you can't really have both.
Yep.
So this is the first step towards the mainstream adoption.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Thank you. And Luke.
I'm just happy to be here, man.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. We're happy to have you.
I'm joking, but I'm not. I mean, I literally filed our paperwork to become a business on March 16th, 2020, which was a pretty interesting time to start a new company. For someone who had never done that before, had never raised money or any of that stuff. I remember the date because 316, shout out Stone Cold Steve Austin. Thank you. But no, like seriously, like existing is success in a lot of ways, especially during this time. So I try to keep that perspective heavy. But really, what I'm honestly most proud of is we made a very significant pivot with our company, going from we were on a path to basically try to get like tens of thousands of athletes across all the sports to like sell shit on their stores, in a drop ship kind of manner, to and we're also like raising money and whatnot to have the courage to say, you know what, we're going all in on women's basketball and not worrying about investors thinking that you're going from this like total addressable market of like infinity to women's basketball. And seeing the response that actually was like the best decision we made. And then we literally turned around and relaunched our entire company within 2 months' time. And we bought friggin' 2 courtside season tickets in every WNBA market. Like no company has ever done that before. So that's like the thing I'm most proud of, I would say.
That's awesome. Awesome. Congratulations. So I'd like to fast follow this, careers of arcs, right? It's not all cotton candy and rainbows. So I've learned, I think, the most in my career when I've actually screwed something up or it didn't work out the way I wanted to. Or
can't relate.
Failed, But we're all still here and we're fighting. But that's how you learn. That's how you grow. So I think we're just about out of time, but failure you've learned the most from. Luke, go.
Oh, I mean, not a failure, but like launching in this space is like a lot of work, and it doesn't happen all at once. So it's not just like an easy like throw a JPEG up and you're a millionaire, unfortunately.
Pat? Hard lesson.
Hard lesson so far has been the thing with not challenging partners and potential partners right up front to make sure that they're going to be all in it with you, right? And being like, oh, but it's still Dale Earnhardt Jr. This will go great. It's not going to go great if he's not, if he's not understanding and highly involved and all that sort of stuff. So, hard lessons learned and changes the way that we've approached everything since.
Fail fast, learn faster. And Kirby?
I would say not trusting my gut.
Ooh, I like that.
I went into this wanting to be a creator in Web3, and then I think when I entered, I felt pulled to do what people thought I should do. And so now I'm just like, I just need to embrace what I do best and do me.
Do you. Love it. Let's just end on that. You do you.
Free Brittany Griner.
But do you,
WNBA opening night.
before you guys get up, we do have time for questions. And because this is such an amazing topic and it's really top of mind for everyone, we wanted to make sure that we could open to some questions. So, yes.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. You should go buy our spinny jacket right now at nft.pwrfwd.co. And I think Jeff Israel's here. You should buy your first NFT too. But yeah, no. In terms of like our ideal customer profile, I would say you fit into it for sure. But we were really focusing on like WNBA superfans, where there's definitely this. We literally did like a month of nothing but talk to like WNBA fans, and the response we were getting, sending surveys, doing focus groups, was like, it's very spammy stuff, honestly. And everyone was like, thank you for asking me, basically. And kind of what we found was, I mean, we feel it too as fans ourselves, but like, there's so much opportunity there, but it's hard to figure out like, how do we actually make something happen And so that's kind of like what we've set out to do. But I would also say not just you, honestly, like what we saw is like with running our stores and things like that, some of the most consistent consumers for the like our invest in women, hire women, pay women hoodie with Kelsey Trainer, like that hoodie's on an NBA walk-up photo like every single week organically. There's tons of just like I think people like athletes that are the biggest fans of like these WNBA players. And so that's been like super interesting because they're all like wanting to support too. And this is a way we're kind of like able to bring everyone together for, a common, it's not a cause, it's like good business. Like I want to be very clear about that, but like it gives you a common purpose.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Yes. Sorry. Yes. You.
Yeah, it's something that we talk about all the time because it is an important thing, and something that I learned early on is that it sounds funny, but not all NFTs are created equal. There are different blockchains that they're produced on and minted on that each impact the environment in different ways. We intentionally work with a blockchain called Polygon that the energy it takes to mint NFTs on that blockchain is significantly less than some of the competitors. So the entire industry like recognizes that it's something that people are talking about. They're trying to make that better. So we're doing that, and we also have started to build partnerships with carbon offsetting partners. So it might sound trite, but like we put out a collection of this many NFTs. It's literally planting trees and things like that to offset any sort of damage or impact that happens. I mean, any industry that makes anything impacts the environment in some way, right? So like this industry is no different. So just being smart and being the best citizens we can be is what the challenge is every day.
This is like a really like honestly like we started off, we were all in on Polygon, and we did our initial like day one airdrop, and a lot of people wanted ETH, right? There are more efficient ways to do ETH, even from a smart contract standpoint. We did the most efficient one possible for our launch because we wouldn't exist, honestly, if we didn't make that change. But all of our follow-up drops we're doing through Polygon, and just like as a reference, like minting a Polygon NFT is like sending 2 emails, basically. So like I think that's like an area that this is going to, you're going to see it go from like proof of ownership to proof of stake on the NFTs. And then we also used a custodial wallet on ours through a partner company called Bitsky. So basically, like, you don't need to own any ETH or anything. Like, you literally buy it with a credit card. It's like buying anything on the internet. And that was a decision we made where some of the, degenerate NFT collectors are like, no way. But like, we just had to say like, okay, don't buy it. Buy it for more on secondary. Like, so be it. Just because we know that our community is comprised of a lot of first timers who don't necessarily buy other NFTs.
Just to add to that, I'd referenced Dale Earnhardt Jr. before as being one of the people who just like didn't think he had to really engage from the start, and it was funny, like half of the responses, and he got freaked out by it because on his Twitter and Instagram when he announced his new collection, half the responses were people yelling about you're killing the environment, and it was very hard to not be like, what's really the worst thing for the environment is NASCAR. Like, that's terrible. So, like, stop yelling at us. Because it is, like, the equivalent. Like, one of the things we equate an entire, like, collection of things is essentially the same energy as running a hairdryer for 2 minutes or something. So it's not like everything has an impact, but in different scales.
I love that.
That made it very real. Good example.
We're not mining Bitcoin, on these.
gives it a bad rap, how much energy is actually going to it, how much energy are you using, and how can you counteract that? But any other questions? Yes, in the back.
This makes a lot of sense with like athletes and art and artists and all that stuff and how they play in this space. But like the room of brand marketers, how and we talked a lot about authenticity and obviously athlete authentic partnerships. How can brands play? Like how can how can a General Mills doing how can they play in this space or something? How can they get in and like how to be authentic, have it not look really cheesy, right?
I feel like the best brand executions have been when they don't launch their own thing, but they enter the community first. So I think you saw a lot of that with like Bored Apes, like Comic Punks, like this was kind of end of last year, I believe. A lot of sportswear brands started entering existing NFT communities and thinking about how they can bring like their tradition and their heritage to these like rabid fan bases. And so I think that's one way to think about it. I think another way to think about it is also partnering with like NFT creators. I feel like that's an overlooked path as well. So yes, there's like the Bored Apes and the Doodles and like all these blue chip NFT brands, but there are also a lot of like one-of-one artists and NFT creators, creators of color in this space that I think are actually a really authentic route to go to partners. So like collaborating with them on custom editions or things of that sort. So I feel like integrating into communities and creators first is like one way to think about it that I think is a great first test before launching like an NFT like product line or something like that.
Yeah, I think doing the collabs makes a lot of sense, and need that Power Forward times General Mills collab. We're doing a brunch at NFT NYC, so that would be pretty sweet. Yeah, that would be sweet.
Yeah, and I'll even jump in on that one. I gave an example of a New Balance NFT. So when I think of brands as a former brand guy, I was CPG, I was Reckitt Benckiser, I was Verizon, as I mentioned. Like, how do we get into this new economy? And not only just authentic, but this is where I go to the utility too. So it's kind of two-pronged. With the utility side, for an e-commerce, we can sell the product and then sell the NFT with it, or just sell the NFT on an NFT marketplace, but give it utility. Allow the user to then just not put it on like a digital showcase, but let me use that in my virtual world, in my virtual life, on my avatars, and let it add value to me through whether it be prestige or actually impacting my game, getting me a better experience. But then also I want to put it on the mantle, so it has like a dual use case scenario. And then I had another idea.
B2B as well, honestly.
Yeah.
Like if there's an aligned community that represents or reinforces your brand values, like for a lot of the big corporations with bigger budgets, like you could probably buy one or multiple and either give them to employees or hold them yourself, and you'll probably get a response from that community, to be honest.
Yeah, and you just reminded me of the other one. So I was actually inspired, if you guys were here a day or two ago, Linda Lee from Campbell's. She said that they're getting into NFTs, and I took a step back. I'm like, how did you guys figure that out? But she's like, the Andy Warhol Campbell's soup thing, it's iconic. Like, that's an amazing NFT, maybe more for a value than a utility. But a lot of these mega brands, they have decades of heritage and history to them, and there's definitely something authentic in that story that can almost be reinvented. So I thought that was really cool to hear Linda say that. And hey, let's get that Warhol Campbell's soup thing in an NFT and reinvigorate it. So I think every brand has an asset like that somewhere waiting to be rediscovered.
Amazing. Well, thank you guys so much. That was very insightful and very top of mind. So thank you guys so much for your time.
Thanks again, everyone.
And
Thank you.